throughout the universe, throughout time and space. 3 principles must always persist. Good must always triumph. Evil must always be vanquished. And chicks dig giant robots. Nice! Greetings, fanboys and fangirls. I'm Erod and I'm the Blockbuster Buster. And have you ever seen a show that you felt like it was made just for you? Like the producers took everything that you love and put it all into one series? Well, I am fortunate enough to have such a show, and that is Megas XLR. Created by George Christic and Jody Schaefer, the series was initially conceived as a bit of a joke between the two. What if some loser slacker from New Jersey was amazing at piloting a giant robot, simply based on his video game playing skills? As the two started to develop the concept, it soon became apparent that it had potential as a series. So they produced a pilot titled Lowbrow in 2002, and then submitted it to Cartoon Network's Cartoon Weekend Summerfest, where it became the most popular pilot submitted that year. Soon, Cartoon Network picked it up as part of their Toonami block, and 2 years later, we would see the premiere of the show that is not meant for namby-pamby sissy wusses. The plot. In the year 3037, humanity is at war with the merciless alien invaders known as the Glorf. And we are losing. But we still have one last hope. Megas, an experimental mech prototype powerful enough to challenge the Glorf. But more importantly, Megas is equipped with a time drive that allows for time travel. So lone soldier Kiva Andrews plans to steal Megas, travel back in time 2 years to the day the Glorf invaded, and use the super powerful mech to defeat the Glorf before the war begins. But something goes horribly wrong, and Kiva and Megas are sent back in time to 2 different time periods. Megas arrives in the 1930s, where it lands in a scrapyard, and Kiva arrives in 2004, where she discovers that a slacker from Jersey named Coop bought Megas from the junkyard for $2, which he hasn't paid.
Where's my jukebox?
And on top of that, Coop has modified the mech using a muscle car and video game controllers, so now he is the only one who can drive it.
What have you done to my robot?
My robot.
So in order to defeat the Glorf and save the future, Kiva must rely on this guy.
You know all that stuff I said about you being Earth's last hope? I've changed my mind. Let me drive.
Character design and animation. The animation chores for this series were handled by the legendary Titmouse Incorporated, who are currently best known for their stellar work on The Legend of Vox Machina. But back in the mid-2000s, they designed and animated one of the most badass shows to ever grace our TV screens. And I have to say without exaggeration or embellishment that Megas XLR has some of the most legitimately badass and brutal action sequences out of any animated show in the history of animation.
Very much.
Ooh.
Cast and characters. Megas XLR only ran for 26 episodes, and during that short time, they had so many amazing guest stars that it's insane. Dorian Harewood, Frank Welker, Peter Collin, Ronnie Shell, Alan Young, Michael Dorn, Tia Carrera, Neil Dixon, Bo Billingsley, and Bruce Mother-Loving Campbell as my all-time favorite MODOK parody, Magnanimous.
Groovy.
Now before I move on to the main cast, I have one honorable mention. Goat, played by Scott Reinecker. Goat is the owner of the scrapyard where Coop buys Megas, and very much a peripheral character and occasional comic relief.
Well, hold on. I'm coming with you. The one in blue was giving me the eye. Well, she was.
But the main reason I bring him up is because this exact same character, played by the exact same actor, is actually from a whole other show that was also produced by George Christic, MTV's Downtown. And to be perfectly honest, I had never heard of Downtown until I started researching Megas. As far as I understand it, the show had a very short run in which it was mishandled and then canceled by the network. A lot of fans speculate that this led to a great deal of animosity between Kirstick and MTV. Why do these fans believe this? Because in Megas XLR, there's a fictional channel called Pop TV that bears striking similarities to MTV. And in almost every episode, something Pop TV related gets destroyed. So yeah, I think those fan theories might be correct.
And now for a real-life marathon. 24 hours of what you love most, people being real.
Now, while Megas had lots of villains, there was only one that was a recurring threat throughout the entire run of the series. Gorath, played by Clancy Brown, the vicious leader of the Glorf, so intent in destroying humanity that he is willing to travel back in time after Kiva to annihilate any semblance of hope. One of my favorite recurring jokes in the series is Gorath being consistently perplexed by how this lazy slacker idiot is able to constantly defeat him.
How is it possible that a remedial life form like you could have stopped me time and again?
Jamie, played by Steve Bloom. I have often described Megas XLR as a Kevin Smith movie with giant robots, and among the many parallels that you can draw between Smith's work and this show is Jamie, who is the Randall of this show. Jamie is the absolute worst friend you could possibly have. He's selfish, gritty, inconsiderate, dishonest, and cowardly. But the fact of the matter is, Coop is the only friend he has, and the only one who accepts him in spite of his many flaws, which is why he gets the dubious honor of riding shotgun in his giant robot.
No one's keeping you here. I could train Coop better from the front seat.
Yeah, I suppose you could.
Kiva Andrew, played by Wendy Lee. Yes, Wendy Lee, Steve Bloom, and Bo Billingsley all had roles in this show. Yes, the creators were most definitely fans of Cowboy Bebop, and if this show would have gone on longer, I'm pretty confident that both Melissa Phan and Mary Elizabeth McGlynn would have gotten to guest star as well. Kiva is a consummate professional, a dedicated soldier who will do anything to save the future, even team up with a couple of idiots who have no business being involved in the conflict.
Coop, set course and heading for the planet of the Space Amazons.
One of the most entertaining aspects of this series is the contrast between Kiva and Coop and Jamie, as it is obvious that these characters shouldn't mix.
So, how did this happen again?
Hey, what do you think would happen if we put some cheese in that duotronium isolinear actuator thing? I told him not to do it.
But one of the most endearing aspects is seeing how the characters start to evolve and influence one another. How Coop teaches Kiva how to have fun. All the while, she teaches him how to be a better hero.
Gotta finish this before Kiva wants to get back to train.
Man, we're always training. We don't get to have any fun anymore.
I don't know, I kinda like training.
Harold Coop Koplowski, played by David DeLuise. Coop is the textbook definition of a slacker. He has no ambition, no prospect, and no job. He's just happy to live in his mother's basement as long as he has video games to play, cars to fix, and plenty of food to eat. You'd figure with his amazing mechanical skills he could secure a position as a mechanic. But Coop just doesn't care about that. He just wants to be free, so he can have immature fun for as long as possible. But the funniest part about this is how his gaming skills not only make him an ace mech pilot, but how his hyper-violent tendencies outgun and outdo the Glorf even when they outnumber him. He does almost as much damage to them as he does to everything around him.
Coop, you just destroyed the entire city over a remote control.
Which you just blew up.
Oh well, I think I forgot to put her tape in the VCR anyway.
Season 1. While Megas XLR had an ongoing story arc, for the most part it was comprised of standalone episodes. It was very much a villain of the week series, as almost every episode has Coop and crew face off against a new imposing threat. And our heroes spend 20 minutes trying to defeat it, only for Coop to ultimately solve the problem with extreme violence or sheer luck.
My big lung!
And boy, is this show not afraid of parodying other media. Gatchaman, Power Rangers, Sailor Moon, Transformers, Super Mario Bros., Sonic the Hedgehog, Harlock, all bear witness to Coop's destructive tendencies.
He wouldn't.
You don't know Coop.
But along with that, we have plenty of loving tributes.
The use of unnecessary force in capturing the Earthers has been approved.
Use of unnecessary violence in the apprehension of the Blues Brothers has been approved.
My favorite episode of season 1 that absolutely captures the essence of the series is All I Wanted Was a Slushie, where literally all Coop and the gang are trying to do is find a convenience store where they can buy some slushies on a very hot New Jersey day. All the while, a self-replicating robot named Regis keeps trying to fight them. And as per usual, to Coop, the slushie takes precedence.
I don't care who or what you are, ain't no crazy alien robot getting between me and my Mega Slush.
Season 1 does an excellent job of establishing the premise, characters, and tone of the series, all the while packing in as much action and mayhem as possible into 13 episodes, all of which builds up beautifully to the season finale, the driver's seat, where Coop accidentally teleports himself out of Megas and onto the Glorf mothership, leaving Kiva and Jamie to fend off the invaders on their own. Ironically, the only thing more dangerous than Coop in Megas is Coop on the Glorf ship.
Coop, you just destroyed the Glorf.
So, what'd you think was gonna happen?
And thus, Coop vanishes the Glorf to null space, where they will never be seen again. Or will they? Season 2. Of course, you can't continue the main story arc without the Glorf. So early in the season, the tyrannical aliens return, mostly due to Coop, and the conflict continues. However, my favorite episode of Season 2 has to be Thanksgiving Throwdown, where our heroes are just trying to celebrate the holiday and watch the parade, only for a spore monster named Gynok to turn all the parade balloons into monsters and initiate a giant monster brawl downtown. It's the coolest Thanksgiving themed episode you will ever see. And thus the series came to a close with the massively epic two-parter Rear View Mirror Mirror, where Coop and Gorath are accidentally transported to an alternate parallel world, where the war with the Glorf turned New Jersey into a post-apocalyptic wasteland, where the world is ruled by a far more destructive threat than Gorath or any of the villains we've seen on the show before. And that threat is Coop.
Destroy them all.
This finale is awesome, seeing our very unlikely allies put their differences aside to take on a much larger threat, which escalates to one last epic showdown to close out the series.
Coop, what's happening? Where did you go?
Long story, no time. Busy whooping my evil alternate realities butt.
So yeah, while Rear View Mirror Mirror was not intended to be the series finale, it was still one hell of an episode to go out on. So the million-dollar question is, if this show was so freaking awesome, why was it canceled? Well, according to Cartoon Network, the show had declining ratings, and on top of that, it attracted a much older demographic than the one that they intended it for. Personally, I think this could have easily been solved by simply moving the show to Adult Swim, but hey, what the hell do I know? Final verdict. In a world where almost every fantasy franchise has to be grounded in reality for it to appeal to a mass audience, and almost every episode of every TV show has to have a lesson to it, Megas XLR looks at the executives behind those franchises and behind those shows and takes those rules and shoves them right up their exhaust ports. Megas XLR was pure metal. It was an unrelenting, unapologetic action comedy that was entertaining every second of its running time. It was a show that was made by pop culture fans for pop culture fans. Rock and roll, sci-fi, and Clerks had a baby and named it Megas XLR, Extra Large Robot. So if you like relentless humor, if you love badass action, and if you dig giant robots, then Megas XLR is the show for you. 10 points on that badassitude meter. Grab yourself a Mega Slush, make sure to have plenty of gas money, and give it a watch. Until next time, I'm Erod, and I'm the Blockbuster Buster.